We're just continuing with halachot, the Siman Kuf Mem Aleph Siv Daled. If you remember yesterday, we spoke about how many people have to be up by the Torah. So we mentioned that there was a minhag to have 3 people by the Sefer Torah the entire time, because we had the Sirsur, we had the Bnei Israel, and then we had HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was one that was giving the Torah. The Sirsur was Moshe Rabbeinu, that he was a messenger to give us the Torah. Then you had the Israel. And from then, even though the Maran actually brought down that there was only 2 people, and then the Sefer Torah itself is a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and then you have the Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the Baal Koreh, and then you have the person getting the Aliyah, which is the Israel. Now the Halacha is bringing down that really the minhag is to have 3 people. In the middle of this, he also says there's another reason why to have 3 people, says the Mishnah Brura, Keneged Avot, you have Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and therefore he says because of that, right, you're always going to have 3 people by the Sefer Torah. But then interestingly enough, the Mishnah Brura brings down a halacha. This is to do with who is fitting to be Parnass, who is fitting to be the Gabai. So he says like this, Katav v'sefer shar Ephraim. Now obviously it's brought down here, because since it is brought down that you have the halacha, that you should have 3 people by the Sefer Torah, and one of those 3 is going to be the Sirsur. Remember the Sirsur, which is the agent, this is in parallel to Moshe Rabbeinu. So says the Shar Ephraim, Mizeh yesh lilmod sheyesh livchol lizgan, Ish nechbad ubal maasim tovim. He says you have to come and you have to choose a segan, which is going to be the Parnass Gabai, somebody that's very respectable, a person that has a lot of maasim tovim. Again, why do you need this? Because if we just said that I had to be like Moshe Rabbeinu, he's representing Moshe Rabbeinu giving over the Torah to Klal Yisrael. So it has to be a person that's very respectable, Maasim Tovim, and that Tabriot, everyone likes him. They're not going to come and start suspecting him that he's doing it for other reasons or for interests. That he's going to give kavod to somebody that's not fitting to receive it, or vice versa, that he's not going to give the enough kavod to the person that needs to receive it. But now we have the obligation of the tzibur also towards the gabai, the parnas, the what? That they cannot start thinking about him. What does that mean? That it should also be done lechav zechut. That obviously, that if it could be that he made a mistake, it was a mistake. He made a mistake. Everyone, no one's perfect. Says, what happens if a person comes and he says, you know what? I know I was fitting for something, and he purposely didn't give it to me. Now, why didn't he give it to me? Because he wanted to do it to get me angry. He comes and he says, if a person has yirat shamayim, yesh lo litapek velo yomar lo dovar. Don't say anything. He should make kal v'chomer for himself. Im karutz me'chomer tipayem rucho min goag b'kse kvodo kechut hasara, halacha kama v'chama yesh lachush lichvod hamakom v'lichvod Torah kedosha shelo la'asot shariruya lidei zeh. V'amavir amidotam ma'avrim lo kopeshav. He comes and he says a person should be forgoing. Right, which means that he should forgo and say, you know what, forget about it. I'm not going to make a big deal because you have the kavod of the Torah and the kavod of Hashem Yitbarach. Now he says, whenever the person comes and he starts fighting with his gun. So he says, he says, no, he just accepts the embarrassment and he doesn't do anything. He's not going to leave his place. He says, what happens now, this gun went and he just left. Why? Because they got into a fight with him at the Teva, and then he just left. He says here, they actually go, he says, he says, here, you do have to tell him off. Why? He says, okay, this person came, he sinned. Right in front of the Sefer Torah, he comes, he starts fighting with the Parnass, telling him that he wanted the Shishi instead of the Revi'i or the Musif. So now what happens? Now the Sigan gets upset, he just leaves. He says, at the end of the day, what does the Torah do? He says, a person should always pay attention to what is going to be the kavod of the makom and kavod of Torah, and therefore you should pay attention to what it is. But again, this is the halachot of being a parnas, because as we already mentioned, since the parnas is parallel to Moshe Rabbeinu, so therefore that's why it's important for a person just to understand what are the halachot, right, which are brought down.